China has been a huge issue for your government in recent weeks. Do you believe that China is a national security threat?
You know, I think China, as the world's second largest economy and growing, is going to be a place that Canada needs to have a consistent and very carefully thought out policy on. I mean, one of the challenges of previous governments is there was often sort of a hot or cold approach on China. We've been very much trying to be consistent in looking for economic opportunities, looking for ways to benefit from access to an extraordinary growing market of hundreds of millions of people who are part of the global middle class in China, and their desire for Canadian products or desire to come visit Canada and spend money as tourists. These kinds of things are positive, but the flip side is we need to make sure that there is a framework, a predictable level of protections for Canadian businesses and for Canadians when they go to China, when they engage with China, while at the same time we're standing up consistently for the rule of law, whether it's concerns around the South China Sea, whether it's concerns around treatment of Uyghurs in Western China. There are questions that we're always highlighting, and we're very much on those two tracks of engaging substantively in the kinds of values-based issues that Canadians expect and looking for ways to protect and promote Canadian interests.
Before you came to power, you'd said that you admired some of the efficiency that the Chinese government had. Often quoted, you also prioritized, when you first came in as Prime Minister, trying to develop a free trade agreement with China. Has your opinion of China changed?
I think we've demonstrated that having a predictable structure around how we engage with China would be good for us, making sure that there are rules. And as we've looked at a trade agreement with China, some of the points of contention that we had were things like we were expecting movement on labor rights if we're going to have a free trade deal with China. We were expecting a level of comfort with the free press and media. These are things that aren't just nice to haves or add-ons. They are fundamental to how we think Canadians will remain protected in a trade where the scale of the Chinese economy versus the Canadian economy is mismatched in certain ways, but that we think we can do in a mutually beneficial way that abides by our values and our concerns.
There are 2 Canadians who have been detained in China in the wake of the arrest of the CFO of Huawei here in Canada. A third who's been detained, who Global Affairs is saying it looks like isn't related to that. Have you had a chance to speak with President Xi about the Canadians who've been detained?
No, I have not reached out to speak with.
Why not?
Because when you deal with consular cases, and one of the things that we've done since the very beginning of coming into office is we put a much higher priority than other governments have on sticking up for Canadians overseas, on being active in engaging with them. And we've demonstrated a certain level of success by escalating them through the proper processes, not going already into a place where we might have unintended consequences for a top level of engagement. Having the ambassador engage directly, having our foreign affairs ministers reaching out to each other, having officials engage. We function on a rule of law basis. If we're going to arrest or detain someone, we're going to do it based on our rules without any political interference. China contends that it is doing the same thing, and we're going to take them at their word on that.
You don't believe there's a link?
We are going to say, okay, you've detained these people. We are going to take this as you say, that's independent from anything else going on. So great, share with us the evidence, explain to us why you're doing this, allow us full consular access. Let's go through the proper rule of law steps. And this is something that comes down to a really important principle for Canadians. Now, there are folks out there who wonder if we're Boy Scouts because we're always applying the rules and being responsible about the rules-based order and the rule of law when other countries are perhaps not doing that. Well, I can't speak for what other countries are going to do or what other choices other countries make, but I do know that a rules-based system and a protection of the rule of law isn't just about being good or nice. It's about protecting all of us and all of our citizens.
And that works at home, but it doesn't necessarily work for Canadians who are abroad, like Canadians in China right now.
But if we were to start changing the way we obey our own rules, we would then be perpetrating a system where there are no rules. rules. And standing up for the rules and the principles and the independence of the judiciary is something ultimate we need more countries to do, and not be a country ourselves that is not doing anymore. This is the only way, medium and long term, to actually move this global community forward in a way that is better for all citizens.
Have you spoken to President Trump and asked him to go to bat to try to help Canada out here? Because his most recent statement that basically this could be a bargaining chip, I can't imagine that's helpful.
Yeah, listen, like I said, other countries will make determinations about what they say. We will continue to apply.
But have you asked the Americans for their backing at the presidential level?
We have communicated our questions to our counterparts in the United States. I have not spoken with the president on this issue yet.
Are you concerned about other Canadians who are in China?
We are always concerned about Canadians overseas in a broad range of areas.
But do you think they're going to be picked up and punished because of this?
This is why we are so clear that we expect that the rule of law will be followed in every case.
Speaking of the rule of law, in China, one of the rules is that any company must work for Chinese intelligence if it is requested. Huawei, of course, is hoping to come here to Canada and have their 5G network. And a number of your Five Eyes allies have advised this is not a good idea. They've refused it in their own countries. You say the bureaucrats are looking at this, but as the Prime Minister, after watching this unfold, why would you ever allow Huawei to operate here?
We are a country that has among the top national security and intelligence officers in the world. Our agencies are top-notch and are very, very carefully assessing and examining risks to Canada and what to do best to protect them. We are certainly taking a look at proposals and evidence by our partners, including the United States, on why they're making certain decisions. We will take very, very seriously what it is we need to do to protect Canadians, but we will not let politics interfere with that process. We're going to make decisions based on what is right for Canadians, what is the best recommendation of the experts when it comes to national security and intelligence.